Oop. Hi there. I'm going to take you through a recovery session specifically for Ultimate Frisbee, but this can apply to any type of high impact training or competition of any kind, really. What I'd like to do is share with you, narrate my own process of recovering immediately after playing, and I hope that you can learn from this and apply a lot of these principles to yourself. Now, I just recently took my socks off and my cleats off. I'm still dirty and sweaty, sunscreen, all that good stuff. What I'm going to do is start with the feet. So especially if you're playing Ultimate Frisbee or if you're doing other things, the feet take a beating. They tend to be in cleats and restrictive footwear. So I'm going to observe, how are my feet feeling? Okay, cool. One of our big priorities is get everything that was really stressed, that undertook a lot of stress in our session, get it moving in a feel-good way. So I'm going to take my toes, I'm going to lift up, I'm going to set them down. Really important that we're able to move our toes. And sometimes that dexterity isn't so great right after coming out of cleats for several hours, or tight socks even. So we want to get the blood flowing through our feet. We want to get that vascularity. We want to encourage full range of motion, pain-free movement. Now what I'm going to have me do, and you too if you're following along, is go with those lateral toes. Yeah. Trying to lift those lateral toes without collapsing in the rest. And as I'm doing this, I'm also observing how the rest of my body feels. So as I walked from my car back into my apartment, I noticed, okay, my left knee is feeling it a little bit. I've got this nice bruise and cut inside my right ankle. Doesn't feel serious, so movement's going to be fine for it. My hamstring is sore, so these are my priority areas that I'm probably going to spend a little bit more time on. But the feet always need to be addressed. Now what I'm going to do is some ankle cars, rotations. So I want to stretch my hip out a little bit too, so I'm going to cross my leg. If you're following along, you don't have to cross your leg, but that's what I'm going to do. I like to get a little stretch. I'm going to lean into it. Shin doesn't move, and I'm going to draw a big circle with my ankle. And I'm just observing how that feels. I'm not pushing into any pain. What I'm noticing is as I come up this way, I'm feeling a little bit of this bruise. It's not really painful. I'm just noticing a little tightness, and it's getting better with each repetition. Now I'm going to switch directions. I'm going to go the other way. Really, really essential that I'm giving my joints pain-free range of motion, movement through their biggest range of motion regularly, before and after training. This is going to help bring nutrients in and out of the joints and the surrounding tissues. The last thing I want to do is stay completely still. I've determined that this is not a fracture, this is not anything dangerous, therefore I can move it. Now, I'm going to do the other leg. How about that? Okay? And another thing that I observed, I hope you're a keen observer for yourself. It's really important to tune in. So taking this time, even if you do very little after playing, taking this time to just tune into your body is so valuable. So what I noticed on the inside of my foot, I have some pain, which is a fairly common thing for me. So I'm just going to gauge that as I rotate. If I find some pain, pretty good here. Maybe the camera is just making me feel better, I don't know. But if I were to have some pain, what I would do is just shorten the circle. If this is a pie, I would just cut a little bit off there. Now I'm going to go the other direction. Big range of motion. Let's say you have some extra soreness or tightness in one ankle. Spend more time on it. Give that ankle more time. We're not symmetrical. You're not going to feel symmetrical after training or after practice, most likely. So don't be afraid to spend extra time on one side of your body or on a particular joint. Now, I'm going to get my hips moving a little bit. Okay, get these big muscles moving. I'm going to do some hip cars, but first, those are controlled articular rotations, by the way. I'll demonstrate. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give my leg a little support, and I'm going to rotate externally and internally. That rotation of the hip is so important. So important for maintaining health. And as that capsule moves, that femur moves in here, we are helping facilitate the movement of blood and nutrients in and out. Observe what you feel. You don't want any pain. If you feel it, just stop short. I'm trying to keep this kneecap in place. You can relax there, and then we'll get this one. Another key that I'm being mindful of is I don't want to push into too much fatigue with anything I'm doing. I just finished stressing the crap out of my body in the heat, running around, running through little aches and pains here and there. I don't want to add more stress. I'm trying to recover and provide inputs that are enough to make a difference without layering on extra stress. Great opportunity here on hip number 2 to observe how far do we externally rotate, how far do we internally rotate. Good to know. Does that differ from pre-practice or pre-competition? Also important to know. Relax there for a moment. Here's another one I like. Just moving your legs. Okay, be careful, I don't want you to hurt anything, but just like trying to relax those legs, moving them. All right, we move them nice and slow and controlled. Now, just like let them flop around a little bit. I like doing this. So my right hamstring is pretty tight and sore in here, especially when I go to extend. So I want to relax that as much as I can. Okay, so I'm trying to relax my leg. I'm going to poke it, see if I can get it to really shake. Okay, if you can get a lot of shake going on in your muscles, that's awesome. Your thighs, okay, there's nothing wrong with that. You don't want to be like that all the time. You want to be able to relax it. Now I'm going to go here. I'm going to observe how that feels compared to this side. Does it feel more or less able to relax? Legs are different sizes. That's interesting. Wonderful. So what am I feeling now? I definitely want to address my knees. So my knees are a bit swollen. The left one in particular was a little bit painful. One of the most wonderful things we can do for our knees is rotations, shin rotations. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my toes up, pull my heel in a little bit, and I'm going to try to rotate that shin externally and internally without my kneecap moving and without my thigh moving. That can be tough to do, and you might feel your ankle a lot. What I'm trying to do, because I already addressed my ankles, is trying to relax a little bit that ankle and use these muscles here to rotate. Knee rotation is so important for ultimate Frisbee players, for any athletes that are on their feet and planting and running. We need to be able to rotate. And it's such a nice low barrier activity to help reduce inflammation and promote recovery. You should just do this all day. Sometimes I do. Now let's go ahead and switch it up. You don't have to if you don't want to. If you're on a knee and it just feels good, you want to keep going, keep going. Now I'm going to this one and I'm assessing, how does this feel? Am I able to use my thigh muscles and the muscles behind my knee, my hamstrings, to rotate this shin? And by the way, if you're not getting rotation, that's okay. What's cool is you're playing, and if you don't have great knee rotation, that's a huge opportunity for improvement, for an upgrade. So just focus on trying to use these tissues in the back here to rotate. If you have a problem knee, there's a good chance that that knee does not rotate as much. Practice helps a lot. Now what we're going to do is just do some knee flexion. So, by the way, you can do this seated on the floor too. You don't have to be on your couch getting it all sweaty and dirty like I am. It's washable though. It's machine washable, so I'm all good. So now I'm going to take my right leg. I'm going to extend my knee as much as I can, squeeze for a moment, pull back and squeeze. Extend, pull back. And as I had mentioned before, my hamstring was really feeling it. So as I start to extend, I feel a pull. It's not painful, but it's something to definitely be aware of. The higher you bring your knee, the more challenging this will be. That rhymed. That was fun, right? So that's tough. If I lean back, it won't be. But if I keep my chest up, So if you want a little more challenge, you can do that. Again, I want to reinforce that if this is a true immediate post-exercise recovery session from a pretty intense one, you don't want to be adding too much extra stress. I'm taking my hands now and I'm kind of massaging the muscle. So as I extend, the muscle is gliding through my hands. It feels nice. Now I'm going to switch up. I'm not going to spend as much time on this knee because this hand, oh, maybe I will. So what I'm feeling is a little bit of pain as I extend, so I'm not going to go all the way. Right there. Discipline is important. Even if it's not a lot of pain, if we routinely push into pain, that can snowball pretty quickly. And we can teach our body to expect pain. What we want to be doing is teach our body or reinforce pain-free movement as much as possible. There we go. So as I'm going, I'm able to get a little bit more range of motion. If I lower my leg a little bit, it makes it a little easier. And what I'm going to do here is move my kneecap around. So whether you're seated on the floor or a chair or couch, I'm going to have you straighten your leg. Oh, and this is fun. And my knees are pretty swollen, as I mentioned before. So I don't have a super defined kneecap right now, but what I'm going to do is put my fingers on either end of it and push up and down. I'm going to glide it. Glide it up and down. This is also really important. It's important that your kneecap can move and glide in every direction. If it doesn't, not a huge deal. That just means, again, you have a great opportunity for improvement. That's very exciting. When I assess people and they have major mobility deficits, all that is a huge opportunity to get better. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to push it side to side. We're going to glide side to side, observing about how far it goes. If there's pain, I'm not going to push as far. What's nice is this feels good. So if I take a knee that hurts to stand on, hurts to walk on for now, I can do rotations, I can do flexion and extension, I can move this. And the more pain-free movement I can get, the better I can help recover and keep my knee healthy. So now I'm going to go with a diagonal on this kneecap. I'm going to push it diagonally. So I hope you're taking note of some of these strategies that are low stress and help reduce inflammation that you can do anytime. And I'm going to take the other diagonal now. Oh, and there I'm finding a little limitation. So what I'm noticing is, it's, especially this way, it's not going quite as far. There's more resistance. And I can push into that a little bit. That's okay, as long as it doesn't hurt. You're not gonna pop out your kneecap from just a little bit of pressure there. I wouldn't grind it too much, but you can give it a little pressure. All right, now we got another knee. So I'm going to do the same thing. And I'm not going to spend quite as much time on this side because I already know this kneecap, and I'm finding it again. It glides better than the left one. And I have zero discomfort associated with it. So I want to move it. I want to encourage movement of fluid and nutrients. And I don't require quite as much. All right, so I kind of know already some of my problem areas. I tuned in as I was walking, as I was sitting down, as I've been talking to you. There we go. Okay. Now, let's move on to the hip cars. For these, you can do these standing quadruped. I really like, woo, feeling it. I really like quadruped. I even kind of like pushing into something. You don't have to do that, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to push with my left hand into the couch. Push my thigh into the couch. I'm going to draw a big circle with my knee and hip. So my knee is going to go up, prying out, kicking back, underneath. I'm imagining I'm balancing something on my back, extending the hip, prying the knee open, pulling towards my elbow, underneath me. Big hip rotation. I'm just going to go for one more here. You know what? I'm going to go for two more. You don't have to if you're following along. But my goal is to keep this mild to moderate effort. I don't want to be working too hard. Because I practice these a lot, It doesn't take an enormous amount of energy, though right now a little bit more than usual, given the fatigue factor. So with those, I'm observing how my hip feels. You know, where am I feeling limitation? How does that compare to my baseline? So I do these every morning, and that way I have a baseline to continuously compare it against. Tomorrow morning, I suspect I'll be pretty tight. That soreness sometimes hits early in the day or the next day. So I'm going to push myself a little bit into the couch, okay, wedging myself in there. Now let's go with that right hip. Up, out, internally rotate. All right, I'm noticing a little bit in my knee and my hamstring on my right side. Okay, holding that knee bend is making this a little more challenging for me with that tired and sore hamstring. It's manageable. I just have to be careful not to push too hard. I'm going to go for one more. Notice how I've really intelligently moved this mat away from the couch so my left knee doesn't get to kneel on it. That's an oversight. I'm going to take a few breaths. Another thing that's really great for post-intense training is controlling your breath. Okay, and I didn't bring it up because I didn't think about it until now. So I'm going to sit on the floor now. I'm going to get a little stretch with my hips, a little comfy stretch. But another thing to consider is that we don't want to get our breath too elevated in a recovery cool down type session because we want to keep our stress relatively low. So I'm getting a comfy little stretch here for my hips. If you're following along and this is not comfortable, you can bring your legs a little further away. You can pop your butt up on a cushion or a yoga block. That works well. Or you can just stay up on the couch. But I want my shoulders to be in view here. So that's why I'm down here, partially. So I'm going to take my left shoulder. I'm going to reach it across. Reach it up as high as I can. Full range of motion. I'm going to internally rotate. Reach back behind me. And I'm going to run out of room because the couch is here. Now I'm going to reverse. Lift. Externally rotate. Turning. Reaching up and across. That felt pretty good. I'm a little surprised. I was diving around a little bit. So if you're diving around, chances are your shoulders might feel a little wonky. Great opportunity to assess. How does that feel? I'm going to turn my palm away, rotate, reach back behind me. How does that feel? Feels okay. Reach back, up, come down. Cool. Now, same shoulder. I'm going to have you go here. We're going to that's internal, and externally rotate. I'm turning, rotating my biceps, and rotating the other way. So my humerus, this bone here, is rotating in the joint and rotating, kind of like with the hips that we did seated. We're just rotating as much as you can back and forth. If this does not feel good, don't push as far or bring your arm in a little bit. That's going to be a little less stressful on your shoulder, the more your elbow is close to your body. Ooh, let's try the right arm. We're going to come across. I know from playing and from the last few minutes that my right shoulder is a little bit more sore. So I'm reaching up. I'm going to be careful. Rotate internally, turning this biceps. Reaching back. Oh, hello, pillow. Rotate, reach up. Oops, see, what I did there is I pushed through a little bit of pain. I don't want that. I'm staying lower. I'm going to cut that part out of the circle. Come up and across. So if you imagine a big circle that we're trying to draw, I'm going to cut this piece out of it and still go through the biggest range in the other directions. All right, and that tends to be a challenging piece for a lot of people. Now, to get a little bit more feel-good movement, I'm going to go here. I'm rotating, and I can tell with this shoulder, as I push my endpoint both directions, I'm going to start to get a little bit of pain. So I'm not pushing it all the way. I'm just going nice and slow. I'm listening to my body. Just because you can get there right now does not mean you should. It takes a little bit of discipline. It might feel easy, and that is okay. I'm going to go here so I can get a little bit more range. There we go. Nice. That feels good. Ah, fantastic. Okay, I'm going to take a few breaths here. I'm going to think for a moment about what else feels, yeah, it's the hip, the quad. So any hip extension work generally will feel pretty good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go here, half kneeling. I'm going to tuck my pelvis. Okay, if this was a bowl, tilting it this way. Squeeze my glute a little bit. You may already feel some hip flexor and quad tension. We don't want this to be extreme. We want it to be tolerable. So you might have to be a little like this, or maybe you can extend. The key is to not extend through the spine, but keep that tuck, extend through the hip. From here, I don't want anything too extreme. What I'm going to do is just gently lean back. I'm using my hand to take some of the weight off my little cranky knee. Make sure you have a lot of padding if you're doing this. Then, really gently, I'm going to push my foot down into the floor. Just a little bit of lighting up of these muscles, right? Or feeling them, then relax. Err on the conservative side. When in doubt, do less. Forgetting Sarah Marshall? Anybody? Paul Rudd? Do less. One more time. Drive down through that left foot. Relax. Stretching is great. And when we combine it with active inputs, such as isometrics or rotation, some kind of movement, that's when we get the most out of our stretching and recovery. So I'm here, tucking. Good. My rib cage is staying down. I'm not flaring or extending through my back. Once I find a nice stretch, I'm going to embrace that. That's really nice. And I'm going to gently drive through my right foot. Breathing is staying calm and controlled. I'm going to relax. Maybe I can come back a little more. I'm not forcing anything. I'm producing force, but I'm not forcing the range of motion. It's an important distinction. One more time. Drive down. Relax. Ease into it. Oh, that's delightful. Okay, final thing that I'm going to do. You can feel free to play this back and hit it again. I'm going to be seated. I'm going to get a little hammy stretch. So we worked on this knee extension before. Now, if I have a slight bend in my knee and I pull my chest forward, I'm going to find a stretch here. You might be able to straighten your leg more, maybe not. For me, once I get a certain stretch, I get a little discomfort in my knee, so I'm not going to push it. From this position, I'm holding this stretch, and I'm going to rotate my hip. So we did our hip rotation seated. Same idea, our leg is just more straight now. And what's fun, I can pull into this range. Okay, you can do whatever you want to do with this other leg. I just want to stay in the camera here, so I'm like smashing it against the couch. Whatever you want to do with this leg, your goal is to get a stretch on this one, okay, and rotate back and forth. If you're feeling like you can handle a little more and you want a little more stretch or intensity from it, you can dig your heel down into the floor, fire these up a little bit, and rotate and explore. Because as you rotate your hip, you're going to hit different tissues, different parts of your hamstring, different parts of your calf. So we always want to be tuning in to what our body is telling us. This feels great, this feels great, this feels great. A little tighter here, a little crampy here. That's good information. Not that much different from usual. Now, I'm going to do the same thing with my other leg. Okay, so you can also go a position like this. This one I already know I'm going to have to be a little bit more conservative with. So, I'm here. A little bend, maybe a little more bend in the knee, as that won't hit the hammy quite as hard. I'm going to lean in. You could also, if you want to, you could hold your leg. Up to you, whatever feels best. I'm gonna dig down really gently, like 8% effort out of 100. And I feel that spot. I feel that sore spot. It doesn't hurt, but I feel it. Now I'm gonna rotate in, rotate out. I still feel it less there, less there, less there, less there. So here I can push down a little harder if I want to. Then I'm gonna ease as I get to the middle and out here. All right, so we want movement, we want input to every part of our body, especially the parts that we're most stressed. The key is to do it at a lower threshold than will cause damage. And what that means is initially, if you're not used to this, err on the conservative side. Do 2% effort. See how it feels. Doing too little will not hurt you. Do too little. As long as you're moving and it doesn't hurt, awesome. You're doing something good for your body. I'm gonna do just a couple more here. And you know what? Like the swelling here, I don't know if you can tell, that's lower than it was. This doesn't hurt at all. I was limping from my car. I didn't tell you that part. I was limping from my car because of that. Just like 20 or 30 minutes ago. So we are all done. I hope that made some sense to you. I hope that provided a framework for how you can go about recovering from intense bouts of Frisbee or other exercise. And also just how you can, on a daily basis, tune into your body and really learn to listen to it. So thanks for joining, and I hope you have a really great day or night. That's all. As always, don't forget to smile.